Today we discuss about modern trends in taxonomy. So here most of the taxonomists now accept that these morphological characters alone should not be considered in systematic classification of plants. So when we have to classify these plants of taxonomy with various principles and disciplines like cytology, genetics, anatomy, physiology, and also geographical distribution, embryology, and numerical taxonomy, and also transplant experiments. So these have been found to be useful in solving some of the taxonomical problems by providing additional characters. So it has changed to phase of classification from alpha to omega, means classical classification to modern classification. So these taxonomists now accept that only these morphological characters alone should not be considered of the systematic classification of plants. So when we have to classify the plants, means we have to gain complete knowledge of taxonomy is possible with only the principles of various disciplines like cytology, genetics, anatomy, physiology, geographical distribution, embryology, and also numerical taxonomy and transplant experiments. So here this classification also change from alpha to omega, means a classical classification to modern kind of classification. So here we have several different types of classifications. They are chemotaxonomy, biosystematics, and karyotaxonomy, ceratotaxonomy, and molecular taxonomy. So first we discussed about chemotaxonomy. In chemotaxonomy, here we are studying of a various chemicals which are available in plants. So these chemicals are helps to solve certain taxonomical problems, and also this chemotaxonomy is a scientific approach of plants on the basis their biochemical constituents as proteins are more closely controlled by genes and less subjected to natural selection. So it has been used at all hierarchical levels of classification, starting from the rank of variety up to the rank of division in plants. So these proteins, amino acids, nucleic acids, and peptides, etc., these all are the most studied chemicals in chemotaxonomy. So based on these chemical characters, we can divide it into three main categories. One is starch, grains, silica, etc., means which are visible characters like starch, grains, silica, etc. Second one, characters detected by chemical test like phenolics, oil, fat, wax, etc. And the third one, proteins. Chemotaxonomy helps to study of various chemicals which are available in the plants, and also these chemicals are helpful to solve certain taxonomical problems, and also this chemotaxonomy is the scientific approach of classification of plants on the basis of these biochemical constituents, and also these proteins are more closely controlled by genes and less subjected to natural selection. And also here these proteins, amino acids, nucleic acids, and peptides, etc. These all are the most studied chemicals in the chemotaxonomy, and based on these chemical characters we can divide it into three categories. These are first one, which are easily visible characters, second one, these characters detected by the chemical test, and third one is protein. And the second one, biosystematics. These biosystematics is an experimental, ecological, and cytotaxonomy through which are the life forms are studied, and their relationships are defined. So here there is a term biosystematics introduced by Camp and Gilly in 1943, and also many authors feel biosystematics is very closer to the cytogenetics and ecology. So the aims of biosystematics, so to delimit the naturally occurring biotic community of a plant species, and also it is establish the evolution of a group of taxa by understanding the evolutionary and phylogenetic trends. Biosystematics, it is an experimental and ecological and cytotaxonomy through which life forms are studied and their relay based on relationships. Okay, and these biosystematics, the term and pronoun introduced by Camp and Gilly in 1943, and also many authors feel that these biosystematics are very close to the cytogenetics and also ecology. And the aims of these biosystematics are to delimit the naturally occurring biotic community of plant species, and also these are establish the evolution of group of taxa by understanding the evolutionary and phylogenetic trends. And the next one, karyotaxonomy. So karyotaxonomy means these chromosomes are carriers of genetic information. In karyotaxonomy, these chromosomes are carriers of genetic information, and also it has been used extensive biosystematic studies. These used as extensive biosystematic studies and also resolving many taxonomic problems. So utilization of these characters, phenomena of cytology for the explanation of taxonomic problem is known as cytotaxonomy or karyotaxonomy. So means utilization of these characters and phenomena of cytology for the explanation of these taxonomic problem based on the cytology. So it's called as cytotaxonomy or karyotaxonomy or cytotaxonomy. So these characters are chromosomes such as number, size, morphology, and behavior during meiosis have proved to be a taxonomic value. So here karyotaxonomy, here these chromosomes are carriers of genetic information, and also these chromosomes have been used for the extensive biosystematics studies and also resolving many taxonomic problems. And utilization of the characters of cytology for the explanation of this taxonomic problem is known as cytotaxonomy or karyotaxonomy, and also these characters of chromosomes such as number, size, morphology, and behavior during meiosis have proved to be of taxonomic value. And the next one, serotaxonomy, or it's called as immunotaxonomy. serotaxonomy or immunotaxonomy. So systematic serology or serotaxonomy had its origin towards end of the 20th century 20th century with the discovery of several serological reactions and also development of the discipline of immunology. So here the classification is a very similar plans by means of differences in the proteins they contain. So it is very easy to solve taxonomic problems in is called serotaxonomy. So based on the serological reactions, we are classified these plants based on the which are contain proteins. So this serotaxonomy is useful to solve taxonomic problems based on proteins. So the study of the origins and also properties of antisera. The Smith defined it as the study of the origins and also properties of antisera, which are called as serotaxonomy or immunotaxonomy. So why it has important means, so it determines the degrees of similarities between species, genera, families, etc. by comparing the reactions of with the help of these antigens from various plant taxa with antibodies raised against the antigen. So why it is important means, it is determines the degrees of similarity of between species, genera, families, etc. by comparing the reactions of antigens from various plant taxa with antibodies raised in against the antigens. Molecular taxonomy or molecular systematics or molecular phylogenetics. So it is a branch of phylogeny that analyzes about hereditary molecular differences. This molecular taxonomy explains or analyzes about hereditary molecular differences mainly in DNA sequences to gain information and establish the genetic relationship between members of different taxonomic categories. This molecular taxonomy is useful for analyzing the hereditary molecular differences and also mainly in DNA sequences. It is gain information and also establish the genetic relationship between the numbers of different taxonomic categories. Another one, molecular markers. So here this allogeneic electrophoresis method used to identify genetic variation at the level of enzymes that directly encoded by DNA. So here we are collecting this genetic variation information through the allogeneic electrophoresis method. So when we are using this allogeneic electrophoresis method, so we are directly encoded by these enzymes that are directly encoded by DNA and also mitochondrial DNA markers. So these are the non-nuclear DNA located within organelles in the cytoplasm, and the entire genome undergoes transcription as one single unit. And microsatellite, so it is a simple DNA sequence which is repeated several times across the various points in the DNA of organism. And another one, single nucleotide polymorphisms. Single nucleotide polymorphism. So these SNPs are erased due to the single nucleotide substitutions, means transitions or transversions, or single nucleotide insertions or deletions. So these SNPs are the most abundant polymorphisms in the genome, means during the coding or non-coding of any organism. So these single nucleotide variants can be detected using PCR, microarrays, or fluorescence technology. So another one, microarray DNA microarrays or DNA chip consists of small glass of microscope slides. So the silicon chip or nylon membranes with many immobilized DNA fragments are arranged in a standard pattern here. So this DNA microarray can be utilized as a medium for matching a reporter probe of known sequence against this DNA isolated from the target sample, which is unknown origin. So here these species specific DNA sequences could be incorporated to this DNA microarray, could be used for identification purposes. So this DNA microarray or DNA chip consists of small glass microscope slides. So the silicon chip or nylon membranes present with many immobilized DNA fragments are arranged in a standard pattern. And another one, arbitrary markers. So these are sometimes used to target a segment of DNA of unknown function, and also widely used several methods for amplifying unknown regions or RAPD and also AFLP DNA. So here we are using several specific nuclear DNA markers. So here these are variable number of tandem repeat is a segment of a DNA, and that is repeated tens or even 100 or 100 to 1000 times in nuclear genome. So these are completely repeated in tandem, means these vary in different numbers loci. These are vary in different number in different loci and also difference in individual. So molecular markers means these allogeneic electrophoresis is a method so which can identifying genetic variation. This allogeneic electrophoresis method is helpful to identify genetic variation at the level of enzymes that are directly encoded by DNA, and also these mitochondrial DNA markers helps to non-nuclear DNA located within the organelles in the cytoplasm, and these microsatellites are helps to simple DNA sequences which is repeated in the several times, and the single nucleotide polymorphism is helps to find the single nucleotide substitutions or single nucleotide insertions. So here these SNPs are most abundant polymorphisms in the genome, means coding decoding of any organism, and this DNA microarray or DNA chip consists a small glass microscope slides. So these are helps to compare the species specific DNA to DNA microarray, and arbitrary markers are sometimes used to target of a segment of DNA of unknown function, and also here we are widely used several different amplifying unknown region methods like RAPD and AFLP, and specific nuclear DNA markers are a variable number of tandem repeat, which is segment of DNA that is repeated 10 or 100 to 1000 times in a nuclear genome, and also they repeat in tandem, and these are vary in number in different loci and differently in individuals. So these are mainly main classes of these repetitive and also high polymorphic DNA wise, high polymorphic DNA wise. And here the results of a molecular phylogenetic analysis. This molecular phylogenetic analysis are expressed in the form of a phylogenetic tree. So here these different molecular markers like these allogenes, mitochondrial DNA, microsatellites, and RFLP and RAPD and AFLS, and these all are used in DNA analysis. So here these results of a molecular phylogenetic analysis are expressed in the form of phylogenetic tree, and also here we are using different molecular markers like these allogene, mitochondrial DNA markers, microsatellites, SNP, DNA microarray, arbitrary markers, and specific nuclear DNA markers. These all are used to help DNA analysis. So what is the use of this molecular taxonomy? Means this molecular taxonomy helps in establishing the relationship of different plant groups at DNA level, and it unlocks the treasure chest of information on about their evolutionary history of organisms. So one, it is helps in establishing the relationship different plants groups at DNA level, and it is completely explain about evolutionary history of organisms. Means it is providing the information on evolutionary history of organisms. And another one, RFLP. RFLP means restriction, fragment, length, polymorphism. Restriction, fragment, length, polymorphism. It's called as RFLP. So these RFLPs is a molecular method of genetic analysis that allows identification of taxa based on the unique patterns of restriction sites. Unique patterns of restriction sites in specific region of DNA. So it refers to the differences between the taxa in restriction sites and therefore the length fragments of DNA. RFLP means restriction, fragment, length polymorphism. So here these RFLPs are helps to identification of taxa based on unique patterns of restriction sites in specific regions of DNA. So the differences between in restriction sites and therefore the lengths of fragments of DNA. Another one, AFLP, amplified fragment length polymorphism. So this is also one of the similar method of identifying RFLP. Here we are using a restriction enzyme. Here we are using a restriction enzyme to cut DNA into numerous smaller pieces. So here these AFLPs are mostly used in the population genetics. Another one, RAPD, random amplified polymorphic DNA. Random amplified polymorphic DNA. So this is a method to identified genetic markers using randomly synthesized primer. Randomly synthesized primer to complementary regions located in various locations isolated in DNA. These RAPDs like microsatellites may often used in the genetic studies within species. Genetic studies within the species. This RAPD means random amplified polymorphic DNA. These are helps to identify genetic markers using randomly synthesize primer to complementary regions located in the isolation of DNA, and also these are microsatellites may often used for genetic studies within the species, and it is helps to identify the relations between the within a species or between closely related species. And the next one, DNA barcoding. So here this method that uses a very short genetic sequence from a standard part of genome. So DNA barcoding is a taxonomic method that uses a very short genetic sequence from a standard genome. Means these genetic sequence used to identify a plant known as DNA tags or DNA barcodes to identify a plant. Okay, so Paul Harbert in 2003 proposed this DNA barcoding method too, and he is considered as a father of barcoding.